Hello everyone, welcome to Random Acts of Squirrel. Today is act number 30, lucky, good, and knowing is half the battle. So, nothing deep in books or movies or DVDs or all that kind of stuff today. This is one of those things that I think everybody who does a video at some point does, so this is my video of that version of it. Especially the stuff I was watching. Kind of want to talk about two things here. I built mantras because apparently that's what people on YouTube do. They come up bold mantras and then proceed to tell you how to live your life. And I don't have bold mantras, but I will tell you how I live my life and the rules that I've found seem to work well, and how I broke down to three things. And then the other principle I run on my life. So today is going to be discussing lucky versus good and why I think that's important to know, and a little bit into digging into that. And then the other thing is, I guess the three principles I run my life by are the three rules that I run my life by, which doesn't mean you have to, but it fits my life, it's what I do, and to me it has meaning and substance. It answers most of the tough questions. So I find that they're hard for me to live, but when I live them, they're good. So that's how that works. So the first idea I wanted to poke at is lucky versus good. And to me, this has always been important. Because if you have to choose something of being good and not lucky, or lucky and not good, at face value, you'd think you'd want to be lucky and not good. And a lot of music stuff, that's probably true, because how many times have people come through and been good but just never got that break? So I think in some instances you gotta have to have some luck to make it. But what I've discovered is being good is important. So I will define what I mean, and hopefully it kind of gets explained. And I think job hunting has caused me to look at this idea too, because it's holding me to the higher standard of where you want to be. For me, if I have to choose a box that I lean into, I'd rather be good than lucky. Because if you're good, you know your skill set. You know what you're good at. You know what you're not good at. You know where your strengths are. You know your weaknesses are. And you can make better plans on what you can actually accomplish. All plans essentially need some luck. Because if you have no luck at all, it's not going to happen. Something will happen. Something will disarm. I've had wonderful plans where I feel like I've been good at what I was doing, but it falls apart because the parts don't get there, the job doesn't happen, somebody runs late, whatever it is. But if it fails, and I know that I did my best, I can go to sleep at it. The danger I have is running into some people who are lucky but don't know they're lucky, and this is the dangerous part for me if you talk lucky versus good, and this is why I'm always kind of ridiculously hyper-conscious of it. I would rather believe I'm lucky and work to be good than to believe I'm good and assume and not, on the opposite side of the conversation. Because I looked at it as sort of a negative balance, but it's also a prep thing so that it makes me more comfortable in life. I'd rather assume I'm lucky, so I have to work harder at being good, which will then ultimately give me more chances of being lucky. It opens up more doors, more opportunities. Whereas if you assume you're good when you're lucky, the danger is that you actually don't have those skill sets. And so you're actually skating by stuff that you shouldn't be skating by. And I think that's where a long time ago I did a whole video called Grace, Dumb Luck, and Small Miracles, or Minor Miracles. That's part of where my mentality kicks in too. You have to be aware of the fact that there are miracles out there that you can't control, but you have to be accountable for your own actions. And that's why it comes to the idea that I would rather believe it was lucky and work to be good, and that way if the luck falls out, I can recover better, than to sit here and think I knew it all and I was great and I was smart and I was genius, and then find out I'm actually massively in over my head. I don't know what I'm doing, and that's when you get hurt. that's where you put yourself in situations that you should not be in. Moments in life when you know that you exceeded your comfort zones or your knowledge base or things like that. And the worst part of that is if you hit a certain point of no return, it's really hard to get back from it. I'll skip the spiritual side that God doesn't put you in a place that you can't handle without Him, all that stuff. I believe all that, but for sake of conversation, I'll say that. Put better phrase like this. There's a term I heard when you go to the casino. Never bet more than you're afraid to lose. And that's where the lucky comes in, I think. Never exceed your lucky. Always practice for the good. And that's important. So like looking for work, I'm annoyed because I complicated my life yesterday. I decided to pout. And then I basically had to play cleanup today. But I was lucky. I had some doors open and some opportunities kick in that shouldn't have kicked in. But I'm aware of the fact that I was lucky. I wasn't good because those doors that weren't supposed to be there that I should have done on Monday, I didn't do. And so now I'm relying on the grace and luck, grace of others and luck, which is not a good place to be. So that's grace and luck, or lucky and good. Here's the other thing I was going to say, and I'll go into a weird story and describe what it means to me, but getting around New Year's Eve, everyone has their life goals and their things like this. And when I came up with this life rules, these are the principles that I want to live by. These are the goals that I found after some searching. And when I run on these three, my life runs right. So a little story onto it. Here we go. So the first one being do your job. The second, give 100% of whatever you have. And the third is, where we go? Win the war, even if you can't win the battle. I had another punchy version for the third one, but YouTube and people's opinions and stuff, I'm not going to walk down there. But how I came to this was this: I was watching yours, and one person said, "I think this year's mantra was joy," and I was like, okay. And as I was watching, I was going through a bunch of stuff to help Digital Girl with things, and I kept running into people who wouldn't do their job. And so I kind of took it upon a personal preference to say, you know what? I can't yell at everyone to do your job if I don't do my job. So do your job became very important. The second one I talked about, it says give 100%, let me read my board quick. Give 100% of whatever you have now. There was a couple times when I was absolutely stressed and I didn't know what to do. And it was like year two kind of built on that as an idea. I was watching the way the world worked. I think at that time I might have been going to school and then eventually looking for a job and things like that. And there was just days I was absolutely exhausted. And I realized that I knew my capacity on a good day, but I was like here already. I knew that I was not going to top out at 100% that day. But I knew I could at least give a whatever percentage it was, and I kind of hoped that was enough. And more often than not, I found out that it was. The third thing that kind of came in the next year, and that was, again, kind of just being around me and life and Digital Girl and that kind of stuff, and it came down to win the war, even if you can't win the battle. And that came down to like big visions, big goals, that kind of stuff. Know what you're doing. It doesn't have to be the most elaborate plan, but you have to have like some sense of where it is. Playfully stating, I'd say, you have your ring, you need to go to Mount Doom. We're going to go Lord of the Rings on this thing. And then at that point, you keep your plan simple so you know what the war is, and then you can lose a battle here and there. And I discovered there was a lot of times that I had to step back and refight things and do stuff so that Digital Girl could get the proper care she needed, for example. And so I would have to lose little battles, but if I lost those little battles, I could control my energy and then punch through and get closer to winning the bigger wars, the bigger part of the war that I was talking about. How it turned in messages for me and why this is kind of true, because there's days that, I don't know, I'll be honest, like this Tuesday I biffed it completely. Yesterday was not, I would say, a top day for me. especially because Monday felt kind of cool. And then I got up this morning, and family life is dealing with medical stuff and healing things, and I'm looking for work, and my head's up my butt. And at a certain point, I realized I had to start applying into this stuff. And so, like, right now, do your job is challenging for me because with all the healing stuff that Digital Girl's going through and looking for work, it means I have to do a lot of things I don't want to do. It's a lot of things that are uncomfortable. But I signed up for it. I said I would do it. I said I would do it by saying I would be responsible. I said I would do it by saying I'd be the husband. I said I would do it by volunteering to be the caretaker. And you can't check out of this days. I chose that hat, and I have to wear it, and I have to do the duties around that hat. And it's kind of stressful initially, but then as I think about it, it's actually not liberating, because that's the wrong word, but there is something at least structurally pleasant to me because now I know what I have to do. So I can grumble, I can whine, I can complain, but I know at the end of the day, I know what my day is going to be judged on. It's about how I did my job. The second part, give 100% of whatever you have now. That to me is really huge. Like when Digital Girl's healing, that's one of the big things I talk with her about. And honestly, when I get frustrated on a day, I have to remind myself that too. I'll come in and realize I'm at about 70% of what I want to do. And maybe all I want to do is order takeout and play video games. So this year, November of 2023, I'm playing a game called Wreckfest, which involves dirt track racing and demolition. And mostly I just want to stay there, watch Netflix, and race cars around a track and mash things up. But I realized I have more energy than that. I can do more than that. And the moment for doing that was like 2 or 3 days after I was let go of the job. Now I need to step up, part one, and part two, even if it's like 70%, give 70% for a little bit, and then I can go back to wrecking virtual vehicles if I need to. But at least I accomplished my goal. So if that's at 70% I have, you give 70%. The third one, win the war, even if you can't win the battle. There are times when maybe you had it at work, or like when 40% of where I was at got let go, and you realize you're not going to win that fight. So you may have a wonderful goal that occurred a month before that, and you planned on having your job, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then you discover, like 3 weeks into it as you're looking, it hits Thanksgiving, and as much as and awesome as it was to know that I could be with Digital Girl and be with Farmer's Daughter and Irish Lass and enjoy my Thanksgiving, and then go spend time with her family, it was fantastic. It was such a downer when I got done with work, or I got ready to look for work on that Monday after, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, it's hiring freeze." And so at that point, I realized I had to maybe lose the pride battle and start going, okay, how am I going to pay? I don't want to be broke. I don't want to lose my stuff. I don't think I will, but I still don't want to be in a spot where I feel like I'm going to. So what am I going to do? And it's at that point I started, calling extra recruiters, or if I got frustrated, saying, okay, I may not find the interview I want today. What can I do to set up the day better tomorrow? And I think I like these three things because unlike having a New Year's resolution saying that these are the principles I choose to live by, I know that I'll hold myself accountable. I know they're good for me, and I know they make me a better person. And I know I can live it every day. And I judge the effort. I don't always judge the results. That's another thing that I try to do. So I kind of go with Coach K, I forget his last name. He coached Duke for a number of years in the early 90s when he won some of his Final Four championships. He talked about how his goal wasn't to win the Final Four championship. He set it up as a goal he could control. And the goal he could control is be the number one defensive team in college basketball that year. And so he knew that if he could be number one basketball team that way, or number one defense, the probability of him getting to the finals and winning the finals would be high. And that's kind of where I'm at today. I think this is the heavy metaphysical or whatever philosophical stuff I'm going to do. I have a couple of ideas floating through that are much more fun. A couple movie things I'll be doing next, but this one really struck me. I think it's probably because this is where I'm at right now. I was also really excited because this is the 30th video. Remember how I showed this? Act 30? That's awesome. And I was checking my video stuff, and I just tapped over like 250 views. And I know, again, I said little victories. I understand the rest of the world, it's not a big deal. Oh, and by the way, I also got like another subscriber, so like it's 10, so it's like double digits. And I realized that's how I got there. So by no means a self-help, and if you find smarter people than me, please go follow them. I find smart people all the time that are not me. But if you like what you heard, if you thought this was entertaining and you liked it, go ahead and hit the like button. If you have any comments on mantras or ideas that you run your life by that keep you sane and keep you on the right track, go ahead and put them in the comments. Or if you just like what you've been seeing and you want to be, now that we're in double digits, you want to be one of those subscribers too, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time and have a very good day. Bye.